Hi everyone, Ed here from Shades of Vengeance. I'm here in this video to talk to you about a few tactics that you might want to use. So let's say that you were dealt this hand and you're now looking to trade. You can see here that we've got the Combine card, one of the most powerful mech cards, along with the Supercomputer, the most powerful individual monster in the robot army. We've also got the Death Knight and the Elder Vampire, and then we've got three cards which have no special abilities at all. You might look at this and think immediately, oh well, I've got more undead than I have robots, so I definitely want to trade away these three cards and try to gain some more undead. But if you do that, you may actually be handing victory to someone else. So you really need to think quite carefully. While the Boar Man is not really something you need to worry about too much and can be traded quite safely, these two cards, especially if combined with other mechs, could actually spell victory for someone else. With the Supercomputer and almost any other robot, you can get to over 20 already, which is already threatening what you actually have in your hand. You may choose to hang on to one or both of these, or even to actually trade away your undead rather than your robots. If you were to choose to trade away your undead, you also need to think carefully about the Death Knight, which can destroy the most powerful monster on the field, the Supercomputer being an obvious target at level 9, and the Elder Vampire, which can actually consume anything that's a non-mech. That may mean no threat to you, but if someone else has a powerful card, that may mean that they're able to gain an advantage, which means you lose. If I was in this situation, I would actually consider hanging on to both sets of cards, seeing what's running around, and consider giving away the Supercomputer if there don't seem to be too many robots. I would hang on to the Combine no matter what, because although 9 can be defeated potentially with the Elder Vampire or even with the Death Knight, the Combine card can actually mean that an army that otherwise seems not very powerful suddenly grows. Now here is another possible hand that you might end up with, and you'll see here that there is a Dark Elf Archer, and the Revolt card, and the Armoured Spider, along with a Manananggal, which is power 5 and no ability, and an Orc and a Cyclops, also with no abilities. Now if I was faced with this hand, I would be looking at whether it's a good idea to really collect Dark Elves. Even though I have 3 Dark Elves and the Revolt card must be excluded from my hand, and it will be floating around the entire game, because most people don't want to hang on to it. I would be strongly considering collecting creatures or undead at this stage, so I would begin by trading away probably one of my weaker Dark Elf cards and seeing what's out there. Obviously, the Revolt may as well go as well, so if people are only looking for a trade of 1, then the Revolt card is the obvious choice. The best thing to do is try to keep track of who the Revolt card may actually be held by, and that can really be a lifesaver in longer games. Now, this is potentially one of the worst hands I can possibly imagine. With 4 imps, obviously you have a large score of 16 straight off, but the Lich King and the Elder Vampire are both potential threats against you if you trade them away, not to mention the Combine, as I mentioned a little earlier. What I would do in this case is I would consider trading away the imps, unless there seem to be a lot of creatures flying around. It's worth bearing in mind that you can potentially uptrade from a 4, but as soon as you do that, your entire army reduces in power. So you may want to get rid of all of your imps and actually start afresh. In the case of the Combine card, I would strongly consider hanging on to it, unless, of course, I end up in a situation where there are very few undead floating around, which probably means I would hang on to the Lich King and risk trading away the Elder Vampire in order to improve my mech army. Although you're unlikely to start the game with this hand, after a bit of trading your hand could look like this. And at this point you need to consider carefully about your Duende. Because while they can't be seen and they're therefore excluded from random selections, that could be a good thing if someone targets your Ashen Dwarf and destroys one of their own monsters by mistake, or it could be a really, really bad thing if someone accidentally chooses one of your more powerful monsters because the Duende couldn't be chosen. At a 1, it becomes a bit of a question of, would you rather take the risk to trade this away, or would you rather hang on to it and at least have 1 more on your army? In general, I take the former option and I would trade this away, hoping to get a better Dark Elf that's floating around. Well, I think that's everything, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know if you have any questions at all or any examples of tactics that you'd like me to explain.